Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you guys can subscribe. That'd be great. Appreciate you stopping by. So the Miami Heat, they get the news today. Bam Adebayo's streak of making all defensive team has come to an end. Didn't make first team, didn't make second team, wasn't really close to making second team. I believe Bam Adebayo is one of the best defenders on the planet, but I'm also of the opinion that when you win 37 games, and especially when you have been at the epicenter of where he's been, which is basically usually on winning record teams that have gone far, one of the best players on a finals team or an Eastern Conference finals team. First of all, let's remember, it took Bam up until last year to make his first team all defense. So the idea that he was going to make it this year was cutting it close. I'm a little bit of the opinion of that when you win 37 games, who gives a rat's ass at that point? If you've already been to the accolades and you've already had them and you know what it is, and that is usually the better teams are going to get looked upon or warranted for winning awards and being in those places for awards. I think once we saw that he wasn't one of the finals for Defensive Player of the Year, you were already getting the hint. I think some people held out hope for second team, but I just find it hard to come to grips with being upset about it. And I know there are guys like Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels, incredible year with the steals and the counting stats. Of course, he's going to be up there. Tamani Kamara, they were about the same record as the Miami Heat, new kid on the block. Again, like I said, if there's somebody who's on the up and up, people get excited about. Do I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is a better defender than Bam Adebayo? No. Do I think Rudy Gobert is a better defender than Bam Adebayo? No, I do not. Do I think that these guys have the versatility of a Bam Adebayo? No, I do not. But I'm also like at this point of like, look, man, this year was awful for the Heat. I know that he was probably plugging up a lot of stuff. You guys can go look at a lot of the stats. Cooper Moorhead has a lot of that great stuff on his Twitter account, so I would recommend go checking out his stuff. Way smarter than I am when it comes to this. But ultimately, I had no expectation of it happening because I felt like he was already getting lack of recognition when he was on a good team. Like, Bam Adebayo should have been Defensive Player of the year Marcus Smart won it. There's no doubt about it. That was before the threshold started. And my big problem with that year was that Bam deserved it very clearly. The Heat were a 1 seed, and he had his first real major injury that year, and it was a thumb injury. He basically comes back in the middle of the season, around January, I think, and defends better than anybody on the planet. And they decided to give it to the Celtics, who, as a team, I believe, had the number 1 defense. Remember, that was an Ime Udoka-led team. And they end up giving it to Marcus Smart, who I don't even think was the best defender on the team. And my big problem with that was the Celtics, for the first 2 months of the season, were not a good basketball team. Like, they were a team that had a big midseason turnaround under Ime Udoka. And one of my problems that's happened with awards in general is I don't like, you have all of these guys who get votes, and a lot of them are making content every single week, and no hate on that. But I do think there's a little something to the number of broadcast people who do shift a lot of these betting narratives, and a lot of them had to be, they had to strip their ability to bet on awards like this. And I think that because they're in the weeds of the whole season, sometimes the whole thing does get lost in the shuffle things. Like, I thought it was stupid that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had to wait until the conference finals to get his award. Like, he was very clearly the MVP, and maybe they were hoping that he was going to beat Joker and there would be less controversy around it. So that's a possibility. But awards can get stupid anyway. But one thing that I do believe, if I were to get awards, is, yeah, if somebody has an outstanding year like Wembanyama and Dyson Daniels and their stats are off the, of course. But winning, I think, should be rewarded. And if a team is having a frustrating year and not living up to snuff, and the Miami Heat are collapsing every single fourth quarter, I understand Bam was keeping this stuff together like duct tape, believe me when I tell you, I don't think there are 9 defenders in the league better than Bam Adebayo. I don't think there are 4 defenders in the league better than Bam Adebayo. But for a regular season award and a regular season from hell for the Miami Heat, I don't really have a problem with it. I really don't. This is one of those things where I hope that Adebayo uses this as some sort of motivation. I know that he's gotten frustrated in the past with campaigns, and I get it. I think that's part of the reason why he didn't wait on an extension. I think that he's like, what do I have to wait? I'm never going to win voting on that stuff. And I get some people who think that's maybe a soft way out to not go earn it. Like an Evan Mobley's now available for the Uber Duber Max, which is not necessarily a great thing for the Cavaliers. Great for Evan Mobley. And I think it's a little weird to even start putting a lot of this stuff with the salary cap's very wonky. And I don't know necessarily the benefit to it for a lot of these teams. It's almost like you'd almost rather your guy not win. But, from Bam's standpoint, I hope that this is used as, some leverage of it. But I think that I do think there was a little bit of Bam, I think knows, like, this is stupid. I'm never going to get this award unless my team is great. And I think, like I look at somebody like Draymond, right? And I'm like, Draymond Green was the same player all year long. And in fact, they had basically kind of a bleh half of the season. Did he become a better defender because the Warriors had a good 25, 30 game stretch with Jimmy Butler? Like it's a little bit stupid. But I get it. And Draymond's great. Legacy guy. Good for him. But, I saw what Bam Adebayo did to Draymond Green. Like, I see what Bam has been able to do to some of these guys, and I don't think they can do the same thing back. So, and that's no shit on Mobley. Mobley obviously destroyed Bam, not shitting any Cavaliers. They had a great regular season. And, he mentioned the idea that he thought Kel'el Ware could maybe be in that, and Kel'el's definitely going to be a guy that he's going to have the rim protection, the block numbers that probably pop more than Adebayo's does. So maybe that'll be in the cards for him. But I don't think Bam's defensive abilities are going anywhere. I mean, like the things that he's able to do, the way people run from him in games, it's clear how much respect everybody has for that guy's defensive ability. But and I think, like, look, it was a strong year for a lot of guys. That there just wasn't that tiebreak ability for anybody. Like there's not that place. Like we could sit here and say, the Heat seeding wise are the same. This was a terrible year. It was a terrible year, not worthy of a lot of accolades. The only guy who did is Kel'el, and rookies different, right? Because rookies typically you're going to be on a bad team if you're a top rookie, and even those guys, the Grizzlies got rewarded for first team. Basically, like if you put Kel'el Ware, Zach Edey, what's the difference between the two of them? One was on a Western playoff team. The other was on an Eastern playoff team. And one was a 10 seed, and the other was, the Grizzlies, who at times were good this season. Jalen Wells had an awesome year. No hate at that. But obviously, like, Risha, like, should he have gotten it over Sarr? Yeah, in my opinion, he probably, like, in that case, he probably should have. Like, what is Alexander Sarr playing? He's playing in a playpen of nothing. The numbers are pretty negligible. I would have liked Kel'el Ware to get the tie there, but it is what it is. This is what happens when you have a rough year, and to the victor usually goes the spoils. So no issue with it. I'm not surprised by it. I wasn't expecting him to make first or second team. I was kind of expecting it. I think the thing that was pointed out, and Cooper Moore had pointed this out on is just the result of the voting is he wasn't even like fringe. And so basically, in my mind, you're saying in the voting that Bam Adebayo is an afterthought for this year. And is that a little bit much? Well, we'll see how that goes for him. We'll see what that means with all of this, because Bam finished with just 18 total points. He got one first team vote, 16 second team votes. But he was a tick above Derek White, Giannis, Shea, Jaden McDaniels, who are all also good defenders. But he was 30 points behind OG Anunoby. He was nearly 60 points behind Rudy Gobert, who was the last guy on the second team. So we'll see what he does with this. We'll see how he goes about this as far as motivation is concerned. And I'm sure there's a lot of soul searching going on for the Heat and this offseason, and certainly for the captain. He's got to be one of those that's part of it, because yes, his defense never lacks. The entire season had a bit of rot to it that needs to be fixed and harbored. And so you take all of this, you harbor all of this, and hope that next year's a lot better. But this was not an award deserving season on a lot of fronts for the Miami Heat, other than Kel'el Ware getting his rookie nominee, his rookie all second team.